The blockbuster US presidential debate about to begin. This morning, we're live to the United States on the ground as Donald Trump and Joe Biden go head-to-head. A fiery clash brewing, tipped to help decide who takes the White House. One new case in Victoria and new hope more restrictions will be eased in Melbourne within days. Time's up for the CEO of Australia Post. Now the clock is ticking for the entire board after executives were given luxury watches bought by taxpayers. And a huge weekend for sport. All the latest on the AFL and NRL Grand Finals.
This is 7's Morning News with Mike Amor.
Good morning. First to the United States, where the highly anticipated presidential debate is about to start. US Bureau Chief Ashley Mullaney is in Nashville. And Ash, we're standing by for the debate to begin.
Yeah, Mike, in just under half an hour, Donald Trump and Joe Biden will come face to face again for the second and final time before voting day here in Nashville, Tennessee. This is a high-stakes meet-up for both candidates, but of course Joe Biden is leading in the polls by almost 8 points. Everyone, though, is talking about the rule changes after the chaos that we saw in Cleveland. The debate moderator tonight, she's been given a mute button, so each candidate can hopefully have 2 minutes uninterrupted to make their pitch to voters. Donald Trump, meanwhile, today hitting mute on his own interview with 60 Minutes when he didn't like the line of questioning. Let's take a listen.
Your first statement to me, this is going to be tough questions. Well, I don't mind that. But when you set up the interview, you didn't say that. You said, oh, let's have a lovely interview. And here's what I do say. So what? You don't ask Joe Biden. No. I think we have enough of an interview here. Okay, that's enough. Let's go.
Now, the two candidates were supposed to be separated by plexiglass. Of course, the president has contracted coronavirus and recovered since that last debate, but the plexiglass is no longer there because they have both tested negative. Still, COVID-19 will be an important topic tonight. Big question, though, will Donald Trump have the discipline not to interrupt and to let Joe Biden finish some of these sentences? This debate set to get underway in just under half an hour. A crucial night in this election campaign with 12 days to go, Mike.
That it is. Ash Mullaney live in Nashville, and you can see the final face-off between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, as Ash said, in less than 30 minutes. 7 News will bring you every moment of the last presidential debate, commercial-free from midday. Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews has flagged a significant easing of lockdown restrictions in the coming days, with the state recording just one new case overnight. Let's go live to Jody Lee. And Jody, the Premier has just held a news conference. What did he have to say?
Well, Mike, this morning the Premier gave every indication that we are on track to see a significant easing of restrictions on Sunday, as you mentioned. And he said that everything was on the table. He's already flagged reopening the hospitality and retail industries, but he said he could also scrap that 25-kilometre travel limit, as well as opening up travel into regional Victoria for people living in metropolitan Melbourne. The Premier also committed to what he calls a dark opening, that is, giving notice of the changes that he is expected to make, and then a few days before those changes come into effect.
We are very well placed to make some significant announcements on Sunday, and they will be a testament to the absolute determination of the Victorian community to see this thing off, to do it properly, and to make sure that we got the numbers to such a low level that we have every reason to expect that we can keep them low.
And those numbers are low. Just one new coronavirus case recorded overnight. That's brought the rolling 14-day average to 5.5. The new coronavirus case is a woman whose child attends the East Preston Islamic College, but authorities say that child had no known contact to other cases at that school. There are now 800 Victorians in the North Melbourne area who are being told to isolate, and asymptomatic testing is being offered to all members of that school community. Mike?
OK, Jody, thank you. To Sydney now, where Amelia Brace joins us live. And Amelia, the New South Wales Premier has demanded other states pay her government compensation. It's tipped to make today's National Cabinet a fiery affair.
Yeah, it's probably for the best that it is a virtual meeting, Mike, and not in person. Our Premier is fired up and she says it's time for the other states to cough up and that New South Wales has been doing the heavy lifting when it comes to hotel quarantine. She particularly took aim at the states who still have their borders closed to us, Queensland and Western Australia, whose premiers hit back just as hard.
We do this gladly, but we just want the other states to pull their weight. If they're not going to welcome back as many people, at least pay us up for what we're doing for you.
I'm not going to be lectured by the Premier of New South Wales. What happened to all working together?
New South Wales has recorded no new cases of community-acquired COVID-19 today. That is good news as we move ahead with the easing of some restrictions. Outdoor gatherings and group bookings at hospitality venues have increased to 30 people. 24-hour gyms will also get some relief with COVID marshals no longer needed so long as there are less than 20 patrons. And here at church, 300 people will be allowed to worship this weekend, though that does exclude weddings and funerals. Mike?
Amelia Brace, live in Sydney. Thank you. Pressure is mounting on the board of Australia Post to join the CEO and stand aside pending an investigation into luxury watches and other lavish spending. Live to Olivia Leeming in Canberra. And Olivia, their future could be decided next month.
Mike, over the next 4 weeks, 2 government departments will investigate the conduct of the board members and the entire executive team after the Australia Post chief Christine Holgate revealed that 4 executives received luxury Cartier watches worth $12,000 for securing a banking deal. She stepped aside for now, and the 9 government-appointed board members are under pressure to do the same. 4 have strong links to the Liberal Party, including former Veteran Affairs Minister Michael Ronaldson, the party's former Federal Director Tony Nutt and former President of the LNP in Queensland Bruce McIver. Opposition leader Anthony Albanese says they should not be protected.
This government has an Australia Post board that is a Liberal swamp. The board are let off scot-free by this Prime Minister.
There's also scrutiny on $300,000 Christine Holgate spent on her corporate credit card, including chauffeurs, and more than $700,000 Australia Post spent on indoor plants, all whilst reducing services, cutting back postal deliveries to every second day. Mike?
Olivia, thank you. The Queensland election has intensified yet again, with both Labor and LNP leaders defending their policy announcements. State Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk has promised $30 million to protect the Great Barrier Reef. LNP leader Deb Frecklington announced an $80 million package to expand before and after school care. There is still a week of the campaign to go. Thunderstorms and widespread rain are forecast to cause flash flooding in some parts of the country's east today. A low-pressure system is triggering showers and storms over parts of Queensland and northern New South Wales. At this stage, rain is predicted for both the AFL Grand Final on Saturday and the NRL Grand Final on Sunday. Residents are being warned to be on alert for deadly spiders that thrive in wet weather conditions. Meanwhile, a catastrophic fire danger warning has been issued in Western Australia. Brisbane is promising a blockbuster AFL Grand Final, even if the weather doesn't come to the party. Bianca Stone has more from the Gabba.
Good morning from the Gabba on Grand Final Eve. It might not be the MCG, but this G, well, it is looking the goods. Final preparations are underway. We know those fans in Victoria will be disappointed, especially considering this is the first time since 2011 2 Victorian teams have made it to the big dance. But organisers are promising a spectacular event. After a season like no other, it will be history-making. The first time the Grand Final will be played outside of Victoria. The first night game played under lights here at the Gabba. There will be pre-show entertainment, half-time entertainment, but of course it's the main event that everyone is talking about. Geelong versus Richmond. Right now, Richmond have the slight edge over Geelong. They're of course vying for their 3rd flag in 4 years. If the rain happens that is forecast, well, Richmond will have even more of an advantage. They are the best wet weather team in the competition. But don't write Geelong off. They're 5 from 5 here at the Gabba, so a bit of a home ground advantage, if you like. They're also likely to want to win for one man, Gary Ablett, the little master, who is likely to play his last game of AFL right here at the Gabba tomorrow night.
Next in 7 News, bombshell revelations rock the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. The document his girlfriend spent months trying to keep a secret released. Plus, an emotional homecoming for hundreds of Australians stranded overseas for months. Now, Qantas is helping bring them back to their families. And see the moment a monstrous volcano erupts in Russia. That's next. The US presidential debate starts in less than 20 minutes. This is is a live shot from the debate hall in Nashville. President Trump and Joe Biden are about to go head-to-head. Both candidates arrived earlier this morning. It's tipped to be another fiery clash, and we'll bring you the entire debate, commercial-free, shortly. The first of 8 specially chartered Qantas flights is approaching Australian airspace right now. On board is the first group of Australians being brought home following months of isolation overseas.
How excited are you to get home?
Very, very excited to get home so that he can meet his grandparents and just get on with a normal life.
The flight left London overnight, bound for Darwin. Those on board will be required to isolate for 14 days. A bombshell deposition detailing the intimate relationship between Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein has been unsealed. But there was one key detail missing, any mention of Prince Andrew and the royals' alleged connection to the pedophile. Hugh Whitfeld has more.
This is the transcript of a deposition that Ghislaine Maxwell and her lawyers wanted to be kept secret, fearing it may influence a jury at her upcoming trial. In the transcript, Maxwell admits procuring massage therapists for her then boyfriend, the now dead convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, but says she never saw Epstein engage in, quote, inappropriate underage activities. One key name appears to be missing, though, from the transcript, and that is, of course, Prince Andrew. Now, there are incidents described in the deposition that Prince Andrew has long been connected with, including those claims by then 17-year-old Virginia Roberts that she was forced to have sex with the Duke of York on a visit to Ghislaine Maxwell's London home. Maxwell appears to deny that ever happened, and of course Prince Andrew denies ever even meeting Virginia Roberts, despite that photo appearing to show the two of them together. Royal commentators in London say that every time Prince Andrew is connected publicly with the Epstein case, it just further delays any chances he may have of returning to full royal public life. And all of this will reach somewhat of a crescendo mid-next year when Ghislaine Maxwell's trial gets underway in New York.
Russia has granted US whistleblower Edward Snowden permanent residency rights. American authorities have wanted the 37-year-old to return to the US to face a criminal trial on espionage charges. He was given asylum in Russia after leaking secret files in 2013. A volcano in Russia's Far East has erupted. A thick plume of smoke and ash was sent up to 10,000 metres into the air. Authorities say the situation is under control and no locals are at risk. Next in 7 News, sport with Blake Johnson, including the latest on the NRL Grand Final. And Richmond and Geelong put the finishing touches on their preparations ahead of tomorrow's AFL decider.
Final training sessions are underway ahead of tomorrow's historic AFL Grand Final, with Geelong taking on Richmond at the Gabba. Live to Mark Stevens on the Gold Coast. Mark, the Cats take an unchanged lineup into the decider.
Blake, there will, I'm told last night, there'll be no change, barring a mishap here today at the captain's run, which is pretty low-key. They're just about to start. Gary Ablett's just arrived on the ground. Mainly the seconds players have had a run, but the main squad now have arrived. There's probably 30 to 50 Geelong supporters here, perhaps a few more, so it's certainly very low-key, not what you'd expect down at Kardinia Park, but it's a wonderful occasion here. The whole Southport region have got behind this footy club. Geelong have been staying here now for several weeks, and the build-up is huge. Of course, so much focus on Ablett and Dangerfield. They'll go to Brisbane tomorrow via bus. They're staying here overnight and then coming back here, win or lose, for celebrations or commiserations. Now, Richmond doing things a little bit differently. They're leaving the Gold Coast. They had a run yesterday. They'll have a run this afternoon, late this afternoon at the Gabba. So they're spending tonight at the Gabba in preparation, treating it as a bit of an away game. They'll return to the Gold Coast, win or lose, for another big party, no doubt, after the game Saturday night. So certainly a different grand final build-up, but it's great to see some Geelong fans here and all the Cat stars just starting to warm up behind me. It'll be an interesting captain's run, and the grand final now not too far away, Blake.
All right, thanks, Steve-O. And excitement is building for the NRL Grand Final between the Panthers and Storm on Sunday night, but fans are being told to keep COVID safe, with up to 40,000 expected at the game. Michelle Bishop has more from ANZ Stadium.
Good morning. It's the first time we will see 40,000 people at a New South Wales venue for quite some time. Of course, COVID restrictions will apply. There'll be temperature checking, and all spectators coming to the ground are being urged to avoid public transport and make their own way to the ground.
Whilst you're at the ground here, we actually ask you to practice COVID safety. When you're sitting in your seat, it's fine, but when you're moving around, we ask you to wear your mask to practice great COVID safety, especially if you're taking public transport.
Now on the field, there's the star-studded Melbourne Storm, who are playing in their fourth grand final in 5 years. Much of the focus has been around their captain, Cameron Smith, and whether or not he will continue to play or call it quits on his career on Sunday. Then there's a fairy tale brewing on the other side with the Penrith Panthers, where a stack of these kids grew up together playing in Sydney's West through the junior ranks. On Sunday, they will bring it all together behind me here on the turf at ANZ Stadium and play it on the big stage. There's that unique combination with Ivan and son Nathan, the coach and son, playing together on a very special stage. Now, Amy Shark headlines the entertainment. Rug up on Sunday. We're in for a very cool day, 17 degrees and plenty of rain.
The threat of heavy rain in Melbourne has turned betting around for tomorrow's $5 million Cox Plate, with punters rallying behind Danny O'Brien's star, Russian Camelot.
So if that arrives, I suspect that the outside draws are going to be more advantageous than the inside draws, particularly towards the end of the program.
A virtual greatest ever Cox Plate will run tonight on 7-2. Four-time Cox Plate winner Winks is the favourite. Farlap, remarkably, is third favourite. He'd be 94 years old if he was alive today.
He still can run. Hey, look what I just found.
Here we go.
Hey?
You are unbearable.
Wait until tomorrow. Thanks, Blake. Next in 7's Morning News, I'll be back with the national weather forecast. Taking a look at the weather around the country, and a low centred over the nation's mid-south is producing an active band of cloud and thunderstorms through southwest Queensland and eastern South Australia. A dry trough is keeping heat over northwest WA. Around the capitals, a shower or two for Brisbane, a top of 27. Partly cloudy in Sydney, 26. A shower or two for Canberra. Melbourne, 23 and rainy. Light showers for Hobart, showers in Adelaide. Perth, sunny and 26, and 34 for Darwin. And that's 7 News to Now. We'll keep you up to date throughout the day. Right now, though, let's go to Michael Usher for 7's special coverage of the final US presidential debate.